on child passenger safety, and we are very welcome and happy that you're here to join us today. For some tech tips, as a reminder, please have your microphones muted during today's presentation and use the chat if you have any questions. If at any point your audio is not working or through your laptop or computer system, there is an arrow that you can click that will be your friend. And then if you need any other additional technical support, Emily is here to assist and her email is right there on the slide. Lastly, I do just want to mention that today's training will be recorded so it can be shared with people who are unable to attend today's training. And if you want to get access to that link of this recording, my email will be listed at the end of the training and you can use that to reach out and grab it. So today's training is part of our 12-part injury prevention training series that's designed to enhance your knowledge of overall injury risk and protective factors and communicate these prevention strategies and recommendations with the people you serve. So on the screen today, we have our child passenger safety training, as well as our future trainings that are coming up over the next year. And they will be monthly on Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. The landing page is on the slide and will also be shared with you later on. These registrations are open, though some don't have specific dates yet. When you register for the training, you'll get an email reminder for when it starts or when the date is picked. So to start off today's training, we have Max Raswell-Gavard. He is the Injury Prevention Policy Coordinator at the Department of Public Health, and he's going to give a brief overview of the safe systems approach.
Great. Thanks so much, Alexandria. Nice to see all of you. I think I've seen some of you in spaces like this before, so great to see both new faces and familiar ones again. Alexandria, let's go to the next slide. So as part of this training series, the Department of Public Health is going to address a number of road safety topics over the coming year. In addition to today's training on child passenger safety, there's going to be a training on transportation safety in January and pedestrian, bike, and concussion safety in February. And I hope you'll join us for those trainings. I want to spend a few minutes talking about how we at the department think about these topics. Next slide. So our work around road safety is grounded in what's called the safe system approach. And this is a way of thinking about how to improve road safety with the goal of eliminating deaths and serious injuries among drivers, passengers, pedestrians, and cyclists. Next slide. There's 6 principles embedded in this safe system approach. First, like I said, there's a focus on completely eliminating crashes that result in death and serious injury. Second, there's this idea that it's important to design roads, vehicles, and other parts of the transportation system with the understanding that road users make mistakes. Third, this idea that humans are vulnerable and that we need to design transportation systems to take those vulnerabilities into consideration. Fourth, road users aren't the only people responsible for making roads safe. Urban and regional planners and car companies and other stakeholders are responsible as well. Fifth, there's a commitment to building a safe system that should identify crash risks before they happen and address those risks. And finally, there's a principle that improving road safety means strengthening different parts of the transportation system so that even when some protections fail, people can still use roads safely. Next slide. These principles get put into practice by thinking about how to address 5 elements that can reduce crash risk: road user behavior, vehicle design, speed control, road design, and access to and quality of post-crash care. Next slide. So today's session is going to focus on child passenger safety. And as Alexandria mentioned, Mandy Summers is going to talk to us about how you can support caregivers and children to use car seats, booster seats, and seat belts to keep children safe on the road. And with that, I will turn it over to Mandy.
Thank you so much, Max. Mandy Summers is going to start her training on child passenger safety. And just a brief introduction for Mandy. She's from Bay State Children's Hospital, and she's been the coordinator for the Massachusetts Child Passenger Program since 2013. She has also been a child passenger safety technician for over 20 years and an instructor since 2014. So thank you so much, Mandy, for coming today. And thank you everyone that came. And let's get ready to learn some information.
Mandy, you're on.
I should unmute myself, right? Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here and to talk to you today about child passenger safety. So I'm sharing my screen. Let me do that now. Okay, can everyone see the slideshow? Is it good?
Yes.
Yes, okay, we're great. Okay. So today the class objectives, we're going to describe why children should ride in car seats and booster seats. We're going to identify types of car seats and booster seats, and I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of those also. We're going to explain steps for correctly installing car seats and booster seats and seat belts, and explain steps for correctly placing children in car seats and booster seats and when to transition them to each stage. So certainly if you have any questions during my presentation, you can pop them in the chat and I'd be happy to answer anything, go over in more detail, anything that you need. Just a little bit of a note about liability. This class does not prepare you to install car seats for families. We have a 3-day national certification program that would allow you to do that, but this is just a brief overview. This is a small part of what we go over in the 3-day class. We want to encourage caregivers to use car seats that meet government standards. So looking for car seats that have the federal labels on them. Unfortunately, there are fake car seats out there. Some of them are knockoffs of really expensive seats, and some of them are seats that people call car seats and they're not meeting any standards whatsoever. So definitely want to be careful about that. You can provide resources to your family. Educational resources are out there on, I'll give you some websites at the end. Any of the videos that I'm using, and we'll go over a few different ones, you can certainly share with families. There are a lot of resources out there. Always want people to follow car seat manufacturers' instructions. That's what we do. That's our guide. That's how we know that we're installing car seats correctly. So making sure to follow the car seat manuals and instructions and videos from the car seat manufacturers. And then we also have fitting stations around the state. People can make appointments to work with a car seat technician to get their car seat installed correctly, to learn how to do that. We also have events going on, and they've just started picking up this summer. Over the last month or so, we've had a lot more events in person than we've had. And I'm always happy to do a virtual session with a family if that works for them. So car seat crashes impact us all. The question is, have you or someone you know been in a car seat, been in a car crash? And generally, I mean, these are definitely show pictures of horrific crashes. Not everybody is in a horrific, thank goodness, in a horrific crash like this, but everybody is in, almost everybody is affected by it somehow, whether it be a fender bender, something in a parking lot, it affects all of us. So our goal is that we want children to be in the position that they need to be in to have maximum protection from the car seat and the car itself. So everything that I'm going to go over is how the children should be riding so that they're safest and they get the full protection from car seat safety. Some more statistics in traffic crashes in the United States. 3 children are killed every day, unfortunately. And we're working on those numbers. I think over COVID, I've seen a lot more misuse. So hopefully that's not going to increase the numbers of children killed in crashes. And children are restrained 92% of the time when the driver is buckled up, but only 68% of the time when the driver is unbuckled. So, and especially that happens as kids get older. Everybody is very protective of the infant stage, but as kids get into the booster seatbelt stage, if the driver's not buckled up, in general, the children aren't buckled up. So we would definitely want to also be paying attention to what the adults are doing in the vehicle. And just a warning, I forgot to mention in the last slide, I will be talking about the reasons that children die in crashes. Some of the videos they're not graphic, but they're definitely very, show what happens in a crash. So just to make sure that you're, just to warn you about that. Also, some more statistics. Kids in car seats are very protected. So car seats decrease the risk of fatal injury by 54 to 71%. And the 71% is the rear facing only stage, the stage for the younger children. Each stage gets a little less protective, which is why we try to keep them in each stage as long as possible. So I'll talk more about it, but we try to keep kids rear facing as long as possible because that's the best stage that offers the most protection. As kids get into booster seats, you see that they're still very effective, but not quite as effective as that rear facing stage. So booster seats reduce the risk of non-fatal injuries by 45%. And that's among 4 to 8-year-olds when you compare them to just being in seatbelts alone. And we'll go over some of the reasons why. Unfortunately, we find that car seat misuse rates are still very high, 70 to 90%. And I do think, as I said before, that the fact that we haven't had a lot of in-person events and interactions, the ones that I'm doing now, I noticed that the car seat misuse, I feel like it has definitely gone up. One hospital study, 91% of car seats installed at newborn discharge had one or more serious mistake that could have caused an injury. In 2011, NHTSA's observation of 4,000 car seats, they found 46% had mistakes that would impact crash protection and 61% misuse for forward-facing car seats. Now, this observation study was just them looking in cars as they were stopped at a stoplight or a stop sign. So they really didn't see what was going, they kind of had a glance at it. They didn't really see what was going on. What we find is that misuse rates are higher when we actually are, be able to take the car seat out, see, are the straps behind the seats fine, definitely know the age and weight of the child. So we compare that to what the car seat can hold. And national statistics are bearing out that forward-facing car seats have much more misuse than rear-facing car seats. So that's something we're finding in our national trend with our national data on car seat checks. Some of the most common misuses found are loose installation, and there's various reasons for that, which I'll go over. Loose harness straps, a lot of people don't want to tighten them or don't know that they should, how tight they should be. An unlocked seat belt, which I'll talk about, and wrong angle for rear facing. So again, I'm going to go over some of the misuse and some of the correct and how it should be correctly done. And so we're going to start with some of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration car seat and booster seat recommendations. So you see that the rear facing recommendation is from birth to 3 years old. There's no reason that they have to turn around at any point. As long as the car seat holds them rear facing, they can stay even longer than that. You'll see there's some overlap. So some of the car seats start at a lower weight, allowed for forward facing, allowed for the booster seat, but they also go higher weights. So you can keep kids in each stage longer. They can start at a younger age, which is, meeting the minimums. But we like to try to get them to best practice, which is keeping kids in each stage as long as possible, as long as the car seat allows. In Massachusetts, the law requires that children riding in passenger motor vehicles be in a federally approved car seat or booster seat that's properly fastened and secured according to manufacturer's instructions until they are 8 years old or over 57 inches tall, which is about 4'9". So there's an or in there. It's not both. It's 8 years old or 4'9". So 8 years old, most 8-year-olds are not 4'9". They're usually a lot shorter than that. Usually 10 to 12-year-olds get to be about 4'9". So the safety recommendation is definitely the height. The law, they put the law in there because there are some people that don't reach 4'9". So they wanted to have an age with it. When a child outgrows their booster seat, they're required to wear a seat belt by law. Okay, so why car seats work? There's really there's a few things that are very critical with car seats. First of all, they keep kids in the car. We know that serious death and injury occurs to any passenger that's not in the car. So holding the child in the car is key. They protect the head, neck, and spine, which are the most serious injuries, and definitely rear facing does that very well. They spread the crash forces over a larger part of the body. So instead of it being concentrated in one part, car seats are designed so that the energy and the forces don't hit the child in one spot, but over a few different spots. The 5-point harness in a car seat gives it 5 points to spread those crash forces over. And they hold the child at the shoulders and the hips, which are the strongest parts of the body. So if everything's correctly placed, then those crash forces are hitting at the shoulders and the hips, not at the stomach and then head, neck, and spine, so that they're really protecting the kids and giving them the best chance to be able to endure the energy that's being thrown at them in a crash. When we're buckling kids in car seats, this is basically our guide that we use for correct installation. So selection, are they choosing the right car seat? Does it meet the height, weight, age, developmental level of the child? Is it meant for what they want it to do? So if a child's rear facing, is this car seat allowed to be rear facing? Is this car seat allowed to be forward facing? That type of thing. Direction, so we want to make sure it faces the car seat faces the right way. So if we want to keep a child rear facing, if they're really young, we would prefer they be rear facing. It's safer for them. Then we want that car seat to face the right direction. And then the location in the vehicle, it's every vehicle car seat combination is like a puzzle. So are they in the right spot? Are they using the right hardware that they need to use for that position in the vehicle? Is there enough space? Some of those rear facing car seats take up a lot of space. So we want to make sure they're in the right location. And harnessing, we're going to adjust the harnesses to fit the child properly. So are the straps where they should be coming out of the car seat? Are they tight enough? Are they where they should be on the child themselves? In installation, we're going to secure the car seat to the vehicle seat. We're going to make sure that that car seat doesn't move more than an inch where it's secured in the vehicle seat, and make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be according to manufacturer's instructions. So I'm going to go over the types of car seats and booster seats, and you may have seen gone into this, I believe this is probably a Target or a Walmart, and seen many different types of car seats. I'll go over each style of car seat. I'm not going to go into manufacturers. There's so many different, as I said, there's so many different manufacturers. There's so many different brands that I'm not going to go into detail. I'm going to talk generally about car seats and generally how you install them. Definitely referring to car seat manufacturers for each one, because each of them have little different things that they require with their car seats. So we'll start with rear facing car seats. There's a few different general types. The first is a rear facing only, which some people call the bucket seat. Some people call the infant seat. We try to say rear facing only because they can definitely go past the infant stage. And this does exactly what it says. It only faces the back. Some people are tempted to face the child the front once they feel like they've outgrown or growing the rear facing mode, but this one only faces the back. A rear facing convertible is a convertible because it can go rear facing or forward facing. So the next step from an infant seat or rear facing only seat would be to go to a rear facing convertible, and it lasts children longer. Some of them go up to 40, 50 pounds rear facing. So it is a good option for keeping kids rear facing longer. A rear facing all-in-one is one that does it all. It's a rear facing seat. It's a forward facing seat. It's a booster. Some of them are low back boosters. Some of them are high back boosters. And the trend definitely is for more of these all-in-one seats because it's more economical for families. A lot of times people will do the rear facing only and then go to an all-in-one. And usually they can last the whole life of the child, of the car seat life of a child. So all the way through booster seats. Some of them do a better job of that than others, but it's definitely the trend that I'm seeing more. So why rear facing? So children's bodies change as they grow. So when they come out of when they're first born, their head is really heavy, their neck is not super strong, their shoulders are not really developed. So they really need a lot of support. As they get older into the toddler, young child stage, they can take a lot more of the forces. Their bodies are stronger, their head and neck is a little more in proportion. They can hold the forces a little bit more forward facing. As they get into their preteen stage, a booster seat works. They can't quite go straight to a seat belt because the seat belt doesn't fit them, but they can go into a booster seat to help the lap and shoulder belt fit them and sit like an adult with a little bit of help. And then their torso grows and they're ready for the seat belt. So all the various car seats and booster seats are designed to support this growth and grow with them. For rear facing, as I talked about, it's very protective. The head and the neck move together with the rear facing car seat. So basically the car seat does all the work. The car seat will go back towards the impact. It comes up. The child, really very small amount of forces are on the child themselves, the children themselves. So it really is very protective. It protects the head, neck, and torso. Okay, so some installation basics when we're talking about rear facing. First, we want to read the labels to find the seatbelt path. So I'll show you some pictures of seatbelt paths in a couple minutes, but we definitely want to make sure we're looking. Labels are your friend when you're installing car seats. Labels, some of them even have QR codes that will take you to an installation video to help you install the car seat. But they have all the information you need to install the car seat correctly. So we're going to look for the seatbelt path on the label. We're going to check the recline angle and that's very important for kids, especially the little ones who can't hold their head, neck, and spine, head up. We want to make sure that their head, neck, and spine is in line with the angle that the car seat needs. Usually it's about 45 degrees, but they have indicators on the car seat that will show you where they need to be. And I'll show you pictures of those also. We're going to secure the car seat using a seat belt or lower anchors. Either one is safe depending on if the car has them in the spot that we want to install the car seat and if they're able to use them. So in general, we're going to choose either a seat belt or the lower anchors, but we're not going to use both at the same time. In this instance, in general, more is not better. There are a couple of car seats that allow it, but generally, most of them do not. And we're going to follow the directions on the car seat to buckle it in tightly. And again, as I said, we don't want it to move more than an inch side to side and front to back when we move it, when we grab it where it's buckled into the vehicle. So right where the seat belt path or the lower anchor path is. I'm going to show you a video. This is a general video on installation.
This video covers some basic tips for installing and using a rear-facing only or rear-facing convertible car seat with a seatbelt. Before you begin, read the instruction manual for the car seat and the portion of the vehicle owner's manual on child restraint systems. Pay close attention to the information on the vehicle seatbelt system and how to lock it. Because every car seat and vehicle is different, it's important to carefully follow all instructions. Place the rear-facing only base or convertible car seat in the back seat of the vehicle. Carefully thread the seat belt through the correct belt path, as directed by the manufacturer. Be careful not to have any twists in the seat belt. Buckle the seat belt. Lock the seat belt. Press down firmly on the base or car seat and tighten. The base or car seat should not move more than 1 inch when tested at the belt path. Make sure the car seat is installed at the correct recline angle. Most car seats have built-in angle indicators and recline adjusters to assist you. Properly position the harness on the child. Harness straps should lie flat, not twisted, and be placed through the slot at or below the child's shoulders according to manufacturer instructions. Buckle the harness and the chest clip and tighten. The harness is snug enough when you cannot pinch any extra material at the shoulder. Place the retainer clip at armpit level. The child is now secure and ready to be transported. Follow these steps for installing and using a rear-facing only or rear-facing convertible car seat with lower anchors and tethers. Place the rear-facing only base or convertible car seat in the back seat of the vehicle in the rear-facing position. Locate the lower anchors in the vehicle. Attach the lower straps on the base or car seat to the anchors. Press down firmly with your hand on the base or car seat and tighten the straps. The base or car seat should not move more than 1 inch when testing at the belt path. Make sure the car seat is installed at the correct recline angle. Most car seats have built-in angle indicators or adjusters to assist you. Properly position the harness on the child. Harness straps should lie flat, not twisted, and be placed at or below the child's shoulders according to manufacturer instructions. Buckle the harness and the chest clip and tighten. The harness is snug enough when you cannot pinch any extra material at the shoulder. Place the chest clip at armpit level. The child is now secure and ready to be transported. Advise caregivers to use the rear-facing car seat for as long as possible. Once the child outgrows the rear-facing only car seat, switch to a convertible car seat and use it in the rear-facing position. Rear-facing convertible car seats have higher height and weight limits and allow caregivers to keep children rear-facing longer.
Okay, so just as I said, I have some pictures of belt paths. For the rear facing only seats, there are 2 different belt paths. There's actually, the rear facing only comes on a base. So if the car seat is attached to a base, then we want to make sure that the seat belt goes through the base itself. And many of the car seats allow for the car seat to be used without a base. And a lot of people ask me about that and if that's safe. It's not the greatest, I'll admit, it's not the greatest option. The seat belt, as you see, goes over the car seat itself. So it's a little difficult to get the child in underneath. You have to unbuckle it and buckle it in each time if you want to take the carrier with you, whereas the base just stays in the vehicle. But it can be done, and it's a little trickier to get it tight. But as you see here in the on the picture, the shoulder belt, the lap belt goes through, the shoulder belt does not go through the belt path. And again, we're looking for less than 1 inch of movement at the belt path. So where the seat belt is, the back of the car seat, especially on these rear facing only and rear facing convertible car seats, that part is going to move. Where the child's head is going to move because nothing's holding it in. And that's part of the motion of the way that the car seat works. So we're really concerned about where it's attached to the vehicle, making sure that it doesn't move more than 1 inch. So again, we're looking at the correct angle and looking at the angle indicator to make sure that that's correct. This is a convertible car seat. And as I said, a convertible car seat can go rear facing or forward facing. So we're looking at 2 different belt paths. So we want to make sure that we have the belt path that is labeled for rear facing use. And generally it is under the child's legs. So at the bottom, at kind of the top left here, I guess, at the bottom of where the child's legs are, that's where the seat belt will go through for rear facing. I always say if it's hard to get the seat belt through the belt path, then you may be in the wrong one. The other one is the forward facing belt path, and it would be really hard to get a seat belt through there. When we're talking about belt paths, also we're talking about either the seat belt or the lower anchor system will go through there. And as you see in a lot of convertible seats, they will come in the wrong, if we're using it rear facing, they will come in the forward facing belt path. So we want to make sure that we're moving that also. I'll go over that a little bit more too. For recline indicator, to make sure that we have the car seat at the right level, there are a few different options. So some of them have the bubble, the wheel, the ball. The most common one, honestly, is this arrow to ground that you might see either embossed in the plastic and molded into the plastic or on the label. And that basically, you have to look at that arrow and look at the ground and make sure that they're parallel or level with the ground. a little trickier to do. Sometimes it's hard to see, especially if the plastic is dark and the car is dark. We will tend to look at the runner board of the car to see if that is going to be parallel to the ground and make sure that we have the right angle. And again, it's just to make sure that the car seat is in the position where the baby's or child's head can lay back where it's supposed to be. And it is really critical when their head is heavy. So just making sure that you get that in the right spot. This is a video that's going to talk about locking the seat belt, because that is definitely one of the most common misuse that we see. People will install the car seat, they'll get it really tight. They know they got to put a lot of pressure in it. They make it tight. They know that when they installed it, it doesn't move at all. And then they'll go around the corner and they'll see the car seat tip over. Well, what happened? Well, what happened was that they did not lock the seat belt, and most cars have a seat belt system that you have to pull the seat belt out all the way to engage it to lock. And this is a video that shows you how to do that.
When you and I ride around, it's okay that our seatbelt is loose while we're driving and then just locks when you slam on the brakes. But that doesn't work for the car seat, in that the car seat is loose like this. If your vehicle seat was loose and wobbly like this, you wouldn't ride around in it, nor should your baby. There's a special locking feature built into most seatbelts here in the United States since 1996 that's specifically for holding your child's car seat secure. The way to engage the locking feature is as simple as taking the shoulder belt and slowly pulling it to the very end. Once you get it to the end, let it back in. Do you hear that ratcheting? That click, click, click noise is telling you that it's getting tighter. Another way to know that you're in the right mode is if you give a gentle pull towards you, you'll feel that there's no slack coming back. That's the locking feature you're going to need to keep your baby's car seat tight.
And so it says, if your infant car seat has a built-in locking device for the vehicle belt, always use this built-in lock.
When you and I ride around, it's okay that...
There we go. Okay, so that was the seat belt, and we're going to talk a little bit about the lower anchors. And here are a couple pictures of lower anchors in the vehicle. So the lower anchor system is basically like a seat belt that's only designed for the car seat and goes into lower anchors that are in the vehicle specifically only for car seats. So it's a way to try to avoid the misuse with the seat belt and not locking. Again, it's either one is safe. Sometimes you can get a better installation with the lower anchors, a tighter, more secure installation with the lower anchors. Sometimes the seatbelt works better. So we try whichever one. So again, here's some pictures of the lower anchors, and sometimes they're super visible. You can see them like on a minivan. Vehicles that are known to have for families will have them very visible. If they're not so visible, you might have to move some fabric back to take a look to see where they are. They're supposed to be labeled in some sort of way. So you see the little dots above them. In general, that's what vehicle manufacturers will do. They'll put a little dot with the little symbol that has the anchor on it and a child seat, or it'll say latch, or it'll have a little flag. But in general, there's some way that they will label them. Some of the vehicles have them behind a zipped up piece of fabric. So you just have to kind of look for them. But your vehicle's owner's manual will tell you also where they are located. Here's some of the lower anchor attachments for car seats. So there are a few different types. There's ones that are the hook only, like up on the top left. We want to make sure that the heavy part of that hook faces down over the lower anchor attachment in the vehicle. So making sure that it's not upside down. The strap should be flat all along, and it should look like it does in the picture. There's other types that look like, some people say a stapler, some people say it looks like, when you hold it up, it looks like a shark bite. There's those different types. The one in the middle is one that isn't on a webbing. It's called a rigid latch, and it just is fixed into the base, and you click it in and push the base in and it tightens. There's no webbing that you need to tighten. On the right, I'm showing you again, it's that hook style feature. The one thing that I want to point out with this is you see that the person is installing their car seat and they're tightening it. A great way to do that is how they're doing it. So you take the strap, the leftover strap, and you pull it back the way it came, back through the belt path. That's a way for you to be able to get it really tight. If you were to take that strap and pull it outside of the car seat, you can only get it so tight, and then you start fighting with the car seat itself. And that's in general how, when people say, oh, I can't get the car seat tight, I tried the lower anchors, I just can't get it to work. We figure that they're probably taking the strap and pulling it outside of the car seat instead of taking it back through where it came from and pulling it that way. You just get a little bit more leverage and you can get it in nice and tight. Okay, so harnessing for rear facing. So again, we're going to look at the car seat, the labels on the car seat for the correct harness locations. Sometimes it's embossed in the plastic. It'll tell you, especially on a convertible car seat, which ones to use for rear facing and which ones to use for forward facing. We want rear facing. We want that the harnesses are at or below shoulder level. So we want them to come out of the car seat right at the shoulder level or a little bit below. And that's because the car seat's doing a lot of the work. We're going to make sure that the child isn't moving way up into that car seat. We're kind of snugging them down inside the car seat so that the car seat can do its work. We want to place the child's body all the way back in the car seat. Make sure that their bottom is flat, the back is flat, nothing behind the child, no blankets, no pillows, anything like that. The child's back needs to be lying flat against the car seat. And we're going to place the harness retainer clip at armpit level, and we're going to tighten for a snug fit. So again, we talked about the video before, talked a little bit about the pinch test, and I'm going to show you pictures of it, and we're also going to have a little video of it that explains it a little further. So we want the harness retainer clip, that chest clip, to be right at armpit level. If it's too low, those straps are going to come off the shoulders, could come off the shoulders of the baby if there is ever any crash. So we want to make sure that that chest clip is right at armpit level. That keeps the straps on the shoulders, and we want them snug, so we don't want to be able to pinch any extra webbing on the car seat. We want our fingers, as we pinch that webbing or try to pinch that webbing, we just want our fingers to slide off. And this video is a pretty good explanation of that.
With your child sitting properly in the car seat, try to pinch the strap at your child's shoulder. If you can pinch the strap, tighten the harness and try again. If you can't pinch the strap, you pass the pinch test.
And you notice that they're testing doing the pinch test at the shoulders. That's really where we want them to be tightened. You'll notice you might be able to pinch a little bit at the belly. We definitely don't want like that big gap like there, like she's showing. We don't want a big gap there. You may be able to pinch a little bit. That's okay, as long as you can't pinch any at the shoulders. Okay, also, we are concerned about things being added to the car seat that don't belong there. The car seat manufacturers test their car seats with certain items that come with the car seat. They don't test their car seats with items from other manufacturers that may be added in. So on the left, you see it's correct that there's the padding that came with the car seat. There's the insert on the rear facing only that came with the car seat. Those are all okay. What's not okay is to add the extra head rolls that maybe were from a manufacturer that somebody got at a baby shower, or the extra pillowy things. What they're concerned about is that they tested it. They know what their padding is going to do. They don't know what this big pillow is going to do. Is it going to compress in a crash? Is it going to make it so that the harnesses are loose? Is it going to make it so that you can't get the harnesses the right way, the tight way, or in the right position? So only what comes with the car seat manufacturer. Okay, so we've talked about rear facing quite a bit, and this is about when do we turn them forward facing. So rear facing, there is no car seat that will allow a child to go forward facing less than 1 year and 20 pounds. And it's both of those together. The minimum, the absolute minimum is 1 year old and 20 pounds together. So if you have a 9-month-old that weighs 30 pounds, they should still be rear facing. If you have a 13-month-old that weighs 19 pounds, they should still be rear facing to meet the minimum. What we find, as I've said before, is keeping them rear facing as long as possible is very important. And this is a simulation of an 18-month-old in a rear facing seat versus an 18-month-old in a forward facing seat. So you can see that there's a lot more that's happening with the child who is rear facing versus the child that is forward facing. I'll just play that one more time. There's a lot more impact that happens with the child that's forward facing at 18 months old. This video, I'm going to show this also just again, another resource for families. This actually has no sound to it. It's from the Ohio State University. And I think it shows it's a really good illustration of rear facing versus forward facing. I think that's key. It slows forward facing, slows the body down, but it doesn't protect the head, neck, and spine as much. They're still moving forward with more immense force. And this could result in serious spinal cord injuries. So again, just an illustration of how much force is being used, or that the child is taking impact. And it only takes a 1/4 inch stretch before a young child's spinal cord is at risk of rupturing. In general, they found that rear facing is 5 times safer. And if anybody's from Ohio or knows about Ohio, Buckeye is their mascot. So keep your little Buckeye safe. Okay, let's see. Okay, so a lot of people ask about the child's legs. They say, but you know, I have my child in the car seat and their legs are touching the back. Isn't that going to be dangerous? It's definitely it's a myth, and it's something, again, like I said, most people worry about. What happens in a crash, as you saw in the illustration, is that the car seat goes back. So you noticed in the simulations that the child's legs actually move back away from the back of the seat. I think most people are worried that if their child's legs touch the back of the seat of the vehicle, that they're going to somehow get jammed into the seat, like if they brace. But again, these kids are rear facing. They're not necessarily watching what's going on, so they're not going to brace themselves. They're more flexible, and they can definitely, you see the pictures, the kids have their legs anyway, as long as they're within the total inch range allowed by the car seat manufacturer, then their legs can be anywhere. So if the seat goes, say, 39 inches rear facing and the child's 37 inches, but their legs are hanging over the side, or, you know, they have to do crisscross applesauce, that's fine, as long as they're within the total inch range of the car seat manufacturer's allowance for rear facing. And again, it is very it's much more common for children to injure their legs forward facing than rear facing. And that the injuries sustained forward facing for kids that are too little are much more severe than anything not anything, but could potential anything rear facing. The rear facing is much more safe. So again, when can children face the front? So they showed you that it's safer to face the back of the car. And as I said, there are minimums and maximums. So the minimum is that babies ride rear facing until they're at least 1 year old and 20 pounds if allowed by law. In Massachusetts, that's still the law. In Connecticut, if you go to Connecticut, the minimum is 2 years old and 30 pounds. So there are some laws, actually quite a few in the country that are starting to implement the law. So the good is the minimum. It's safer if they can stay rear facing longer. So better would be to keep them going beyond those minimum weight and height requirements and while still meeting state law. So if a child can, if somebody can get their child to 18 months and 30 pounds rear facing and decide that they want to turn the child around, they're meeting the minimums. It's not the safest, but it's allowed. So I would rather, if I'm working with a family and they decide they want to turn their child forward facing at that point, I'm going to talk to them about the reasons. I might show the videos. If they ultimately decide that that's what they want to do, I'm going to help them install their car seat that way, because I'd rather show them how to correctly install a forward facing seat than to just get mad at them and send them on their way. We definitely want people to do best practice, which is to go all the way to the height and weight limits of the car seat, the convertible car seat or the all-in-one car seat, which can be up to 50 pounds. But we're going to engage parents. We're going to meet them where they're at and make sure that they feel empowered with their decision. Again, as long as they're meeting the manufacturer's minimums and the state law, then they're within their rights to do that. Again, we always are going to try to get best practice, but we will work with families on that. So I'm going to go over the types of forward-facing car seats now. So there are a few different types. There's the convertible car seat is now forward-facing, and you can see in the picture that the seat belt goes through the back of the car seat. We're going to talk about, there's a few different things with car seat installation with that. And we're going to talk about that in some future slides. Combination car seat is a car seat that it has a harness up to a certain weight, usually 65 pounds. Some of them are 50, some of them are a little higher. And they become a booster seat after that. The all-in-one seats, again, are the ones that do everything. There are some forward-facing car seats. The only one I know of is in the picture, and I have not seen anybody with that because it's kind of, why would you want to buy a car seat like that that only does one thing? But they are out there, so we might see them occasionally. And people often ask about the integrated car seats, the ones that come in the vehicles, and if they're safe and if they're good. And they're safe as long as there are no recalls on them, because they do get recalled. They usually last the life of the vehicle, or they will say how long they're good for. It definitely takes the installation questions out of them. You just have to put the child in the harnesses. They're not always the most comfortable, and they do have a limited amount of capacity. Some of them go to 50 pounds, for example. So they may not be the solution for a family forever, but they might work for a while, which is great. So again, for installing a car seat forward facing, we're going to read the labels to find the seatbelt path. Make sure we're doing that the right way. Again, we're going to either use the seatbelt or the lower anchors, as long as we're following the weight limits on the lower anchors, because we didn't talk about it so much rear facing because it's not an issue. Forward facing, there is a weight limit on lower anchors, and it's usually 65 pounds, and that includes the weight of the child and the weight of the car seat itself. And the labels will tell you to what weight the child can be in, the car seat can be, to what weight of the child that the car seat can be installed with the lower anchors and top tether forward facing. So there is a little bit more consideration there. So choose either seatbelt or lower anchors, but don't use them both at the same time again, unless the manufacturer allows, which there's only a couple. And then follow the directions to buckle it in tightly. And this is a video over installation.
This video addresses basic tips for installing a combination car seat in the forward-facing position with a harness using a seatbelt. Before you begin, read the instruction manual for the car seat. Also, read the vehicle owner's manual on child restraint systems and how to lock the vehicle seatbelt. Because every car seat and vehicle is different, it's important to follow all instructions carefully. Place the car seat in the back seat of the vehicle in the forward-facing position. Thread the seatbelt through the correct belt path, as directed by the manufacturer. Be careful not to have any twists. Buckle the seatbelt. Lock the seatbelt. Place your hand firmly in the car seat and tighten. The car seat should not move side to side or front to back more than 1 inch when testing at the belt path. Properly position the harness on the child. Harness strap should lie flat, not twisted, and be placed through the slot that is at or above the child's shoulders. Buckle the harness and the chest clip and tighten. The harness is snug enough when you cannot pinch any extra material at the shoulder. Place the chest clip at armpit level. Use the top tether whenever possible with a forward-facing seat. Follow these steps for a 3-in-1 forward-facing car seat with latch. Place the car seat in the back seat of the vehicle in the forward-facing position. After ensuring the child is within the car seat and vehicle weight recommendations for using lower anchors, locate the approved lower anchors in the vehicle. Attach the lower straps on the car seat to the anchors. Press down firmly on the seat and tighten the straps. Connect the top tether strap on the car seat to the correct tether anchor and tighten. This step limits forward movement in a crash. The car seat should not move more than 1 inch when testing at the belt path. Properly position the harness on the child. Harness strap should lie flat, not twisted, and be placed through the slot that is at or above the child's shoulders. Buckle the harness and the chest clip and tighten. The harness is snug enough when you cannot pinch any extra material at the shoulder. Place the chest clip at armpit level. The child is secure and ready to be transported. Emphasize to caregivers the importance of continuing to use the car seat with a harness for as long as possible. Once the child reaches the top height or weight limit of the seat, he or she can be moved to a booster seat.
Okay, we're going to go over the top tether a little bit more, and I have a few videos on the top tether because this is definitely for forward facing, this is one of the areas where we find that people do not use the top tether, and it does provide a lot more safety when a child is forward facing. So basically what it does is it keeps the child's head back in a crash, and the movement is about 4 to 6 inches less, which, you know, when we talk about stretching on the head, neck, and spine, doesn't sound like a lot, but it's really huge and really can prevent a lot of injuries. And it also connects the top part of the car seat to the vehicle. So when we're testing, again, we're testing where the seat belt goes through or the lower anchors. We're also just making sure that that top tether is snug and that the car seat doesn't move a lot up at the top where it's connected. So you can see it shows that this is a sedan, and it shows that there's a little flap at the back. You might see it on the back dashboard. There needs to be 3 positions in each vehicle for the top tether. And you can see that you flip it up and then you hook it into the back dashboard of the sedan. So this is one of the demonstrations of a tether versus no tether to show you the amount of movement without. And there's no sound on this one either. So again, as I said, it limits the amount that the head moves forward in an event of a collision. And as you can see, it still moves quite a bit, but compared to not having a tether, it moves less. And head strikes are actually one of the leading causes of death in children that are forward facing. So your child's head moving an additional 4 to 6 inches in a crash. You also see that the child actually in the simulation hit the back of the front seat. So it can also hit other parts of the interior and cause serious injury. So again, this is an illustration, tether versus no tether. And it can be the difference between a child suffering a traumatic brain injury or walking away with little to no injury. So it is really, it's one of the, as I said, again, the biggest misuses that we see. Always use a top tether, whether you're installing with a forward-facing seat using the latch system or the seat belt. So yeah, that's a good point also, is that it's part of the latch system, but when we install a car seat with the seat belt forward-facing, we also want to use that top tether. And it really is one of the ways to prevent injuries among the kids who are forward-facing. Whoops, let me go back. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, so this is another video that shows this has loose latch and no tether versus a correct installation. And you can see again the amount of movement. So this is also points to the fact of how tight it needs to be. And again, on the left, you see with the loose latch and no tether that the child would hit the front of the back of the front seat versus a lot of movement on the correctly installed car seat, but protecting them from moving so far forward. And this one is also, it's showing correct installation on the right side. On the left side, it's showing when somebody puts a seat belt or a lower anchors through the wrong belt path and doesn't use a top tether. And you can see that the car seat does not stay upright. I'm going to play this one again and point out, if you see as the movement's going along, you see where that chest clip ends up. It ends up at the bottom of the child's belly. It was correctly placed in the at the armpit level, but that's actually what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to move down lower as it goes along so that it doesn't cause any injuries to the chest. So it moves down as the crash happens. So if it starts low, you can imagine that it's going to move even lower and not provide protection, not keep those straps on the shoulders. So if you just take a look at that right side, you'll see how it moves down. So that's another key point, is making sure that the chest clip is in the right spot. Okay, again, for harnessing for forward facing, we're going to look at the harness location. So as a reminder, at or above shoulder level, which is different than rear facing. In rear facing, as I talked about it, we wanted to kind of push the child in, cocoon the child in there, make sure that the child's not moving any. Forward facing, as you see, you actually want a little bit of movement. So that's why it's above the shoulder. We usually say, look at the labels to make sure you're in the right spot, but also look to see if it's between the bottom of the child's ears and the top of the child's shoulders. We definitely don't want it too high up. We want it kind of in between the shoulder ear level. Again, place the harness retainer clip, or the chest clip as we call it, at armpit level. Make the harness tight. Remember that pinch test, we're doing that for forward facing also. And use harnesses forward facing for as long as possible. Most car seats will go to 65 pounds with a harness. Some of those combination seats that turn into booster seats, as I said, could use the harnesses for up to 65 pounds or until the child's shoulders go above the top strap slot. And usually they outgrow them height-wise before weight-wise. So just keeping kids in those harnesses as long as possible before moving them to a booster seat. So we're going to talk about the different types of booster seats and when to move them to a booster seat. So we have a high back booster seat, which is a great transition from that harness to the booster seat. Still gives them a little bit of protection, a little bit of comfort for their head. If they still nap a little bit, they have a little bit of adjustment for the head. The high back booster seats also adjust the seat belt, especially that shoulder belt, very well. Low back booster seats, a lot of people ask if they're safe. They are. I would say more for older kids because the seat belt needs to fit them the right way. So if they're in a low back booster and the seat belt still doesn't fit them the right way, then they probably need to be back in a high back booster. It has a little more ability to adjust it. Some of those backless booster seats have little shoulder strap adjusters, but sometimes they don't work as well as an actual high back that you can move up and down to make sure that this shoulder belt fits them. A combination car seat is the one that has a harness in it and then becomes a booster. So you take all the harnesses out, or they might have a little compartment that they go into and they become a booster themselves. The all-in-one car seats become a booster also. Sometimes I will say with those all-in-ones, by the time they get to a booster seat mode, the car seat's not in the great, it's probably still safe and fit, but sometimes the car seat itself is not in the greatest condition, as you know, if there's been a lot of crackers and juice and that kind of thing. So some people tend not to use the booster seat mode for the all-in-one in the all-in-one car seats. And then there are some integrated booster seats in vehicles, and actually just saw one at a class a couple weeks ago. And I hadn't seen one before. So the seat itself, it's usually Volvo, folds up to make a little booster seat, and the seat belt fits. So that's a great option also. So when do we move a child to a booster seat? So we want to, again, have they outgrown the weight or height limits of their harnessed car seat? Are they over 65 pounds or over the inch range allowed? Are the tops of their ears going up over the side of the car seat, or are their shoulders going over that last shoulder strap location in a harnessed car seat? Do they meet the age, weight, height requirements for a booster seat? And so there are weight limits on booster seats now. There are age limits on a lot of booster seats now. So they're saying now a lot of them a minimum of 4 years old. Many of those booster seats start at 40 pounds. A couple of them start at 30 pounds. There's a few that have an age limit of 3. We really like to get kids to at least 5 before they go into a booster seat. But if the booster seat allows 4 years old, and we've talked to the families, and they're comfortable with it, then we may, again, we're going to educate them, but we would allow that because it meets the minimums. Is the seat belt properly positioned on the child in the booster seat? So not all kids fit booster seats the same way. So a certain booster seat may actually on a child put the seat belt in the wrong position, may put it over their stomach or hitting them the seat belt in the neck. And we definitely don't want that. So we want to make sure that whatever booster seat they have for their child is working for them. And is the child mature enough to remain appropriately positioned in the booster seat for the entire ride? So they may have met all the age, weight, and height requirements, but maybe for some reason can't sit still in a booster seat, unbuckles themselves. They're basically using the seat belt like an adult. So they need to be able to sit still without unbuckling. So we look at all that to make sure that they're ready for the booster seat. A booster seat, again, it uses the seat belt instead of a harness. So we're not really installing anything on a booster seat. There are some booster seats that come with lower anchors, and that is simply just to keep that seat attached to the vehicle, mostly honestly for when the child's not in it, but also just it's there so that it doesn't move around. But we're not, other than that, if it doesn't come with lower anchors, we're not installing that booster seat. We're basically just having the seat belt put over the child. It positions the vehicle lap and shoulder belt so it fits correctly, low over the thighs and across the chest. And it's essential to prevent injuries from seatbelt syndrome, which I'll talk about in a minute. Or right now. Seatbelt syndrome is where the lap belt gets placed over the stomach. So there's really no bone structure to protect. It's all just soft tissue, and it's all the organs in the child, on the child. So like the liver, spleen, stomach area. What a proper placement is to have the lap belt over the hips, because that's providing protection. Those are strong parts of the child's body, and it's going to provide protection. The picture shows what happens when there's no shoulder belt and a child would fold over the lap belt only. So a lot of times what happens if the seat belt doesn't fit a child correctly, and it hits them on the neck, the shoulder belt hits them on the neck, they'll put the seat belt behind them, and then they have no upper body protection. I have a few videos to show you how effective booster seats are. And this is a simulation. So one of the things that can happen if a child's too small for the seatbelt, they can actually go under the seatbelt. They call it submarining, and come out of the seatbelt itself. So I'll just play that one again. The booster seat positions the seatbelt so that they don't submarine, and it hits them right on the strong parts of the body. This is a video on showing you how to use a booster seat.
This video covers some basic tips for using a high back booster seat. When the child has outgrown the height or weight limits of a forward-facing car seat, it's time to move to a booster seat. There are two kinds of booster seats, backless and high back booster seats. Caregivers should use a high back booster seat when the vehicle seat back is low or when there are no head restraints. This type of booster seat positions the vehicle seat belt over the stronger parts of the child's body. It provides head, neck, and back support. Caregivers can use a backless booster seat when the vehicle's head restraint supports the child's head. This type of booster seat also positions the vehicle seat belt over the stronger parts of the child's body. Before you begin, read the instruction manual for the booster seat and the portion of the vehicle owner's manual on child restraint systems. Because every booster seat and vehicle is different, it's important to follow all instructions carefully. It is important to note booster seats can only be used with a lap and shoulder belt, not a lap-only seat belt. Place the booster seat flat in the back seat of the vehicle. Have the child sit in the booster seat and fasten the seat belt. Make sure the seat belt fits the child properly. The shoulder belt should rest across the chest away from the child's neck, and the lap belt should be across the upper thighs. If the booster seat comes with seatbelt guides, use them to achieve good belt positioning. If necessary, adjust the vehicle head restraint to a comfortable and supportive position. The child is now secure and ready to travel. Encourage caregivers to keep children in a booster seat until the seat belt fits properly.
And usually by this age, they're buckling themselves in, which is fine. We just always remind families to check to make sure that the child has the seat belts in the right guides, and that the seat belt's still fitting them. And again, they may need to adjust it as the child grows. If it's a high back booster, just adjust it up so that the seat belt fits them the right way. So for recommendations for children in seat belts, we're looking for a few different things. We're looking for their back to sit against the vehicle seat without slouching, because if they start to slouch again, then that seat belt's going to go over their stomach. Can they keep their knees naturally bent over the edge of the seat? Because if they can't bend their knees over the edge of the seat, then they're going to start to slouch because it's not comfortable to have your legs sticking straight out. So they're going to slouch to make sure that their knees can bend over the edge of the seat. And then the seat belt again will be in the wrong spot. Can they keep their feet flat on the floor? And that again is for positioning of the seat belt. Can they have the lap belt lie snugly over the upper thighs and not the stomach? And can they have the shoulder belt lie across the shoulder and chest and not across the neck or the face? And again, If the seatbelt is bothering them, then they may put it under their arm, which will not provide the shoulder belt under their arm, which will not provide much protection, or behind them, which will not provide them with any protection for their upper body. So those are the few things that we're looking at. And they need to be able, again, to do all these for the entire ride. So it may be that if there's a quick trip, that's fine. But if it's a longer ride, then maybe might need to think about, you know, should they be in a booster seat again? Or, you know, these also apply for booster seats, and can they ride that way the whole ride? Should they be in a harness seat if they're on a long trip? That could be some possibilities that might happen, is that they may actually have to go back into a harnessed car seat or a booster seat. So this is a video. This is a little more graphic video showing what happens when a child is in a seatbelt too early.
A seatbelt resting across a child's abdomen rather than low and tight across the hips actually transmits the forces of the crash to the child's spine, and the child will bend around the fulcrum of the seatbelt, and that can create a spinal injury, spinal fracture, and spinal cord injury resulting in paraplegia. We see internal organs damaged, kidney injuries, spleen injuries, rupture of intestines, and severe bleeding.
Okay. Okay, so this video is talking about proper seatbelt fit.
This video covers guidelines for riding properly in an adult seatbelt in the backseat of a vehicle. For a child to properly fit in a seatbelt, he or she must be tall enough to sit without slouching. The child's back should be against the vehicle's seat back. Knees should bend naturally at the edge of the vehicle seat, and feet should be flat on the floor. The lap belt must fit snugly, low on the hips and upper thighs, not on the stomach. The shoulder belt should lie snug across the shoulder and chest, and not across the neck or face. The caregiver should never let the child put the shoulder belt under their arm or behind their back. It could cause severe injuries in a crash. All children under age 13 should sit in the back seat of the vehicle whenever possible. Teach caregivers these guidelines for proper seatbelt fit, and remember, they work for adults too.
Now I'm going to talk about a few general things, just in general with car seats and resources and that type of thing. So the first thing, a question that came up a lot, especially over COVID, is tips for cleaning car seats. The tendency was to want to use Lysol, especially for organizations that were transporting more than one kid, to use Lysol, to use harsh chemicals. And that's really something that the car seat manufacturers do not want you to use. There's a breakdown in the fabric, especially the harnesses are made of nylon and have a certain amount of stretch and give that they can provide. If any of the webbing starts to break down, then it could be too much. So definitely no harsh chemicals, no Lysol wipes. Follow car seat manufacturers' instructions only. Some of them allow for machine washing of padding. Usually they'll want just very mild soap. With the harnesses, they'll want just maybe spray dampen. Some of them will say you can soak them in mild soap or just with a little bit of water, but definitely not putting in the dryer, because that again will break down some of the materials that they're using to provide the protection. So just making sure that following manufacturer's instructions so that the car seat or the harnesses don't get damaged. One of the things that one brand of car seat, Even Flow, is a brand of car seats, and they make a lot of different ones, and they're a very popular seat. They did test 70% isopropyl alcohol spray, and they found that it did not cause any problems. So they say spray or wipe to dampen, but don't soak them in that. So if you have a spray and you just spray the padding, spray the harnesses, that's fine. There is a link for an article on washing car seats that came out right at the beginning of the pandemic that one of the car seat manufacturers did, and it's a good overview. Kind of shows you what you can and do within those manufacturer guidelines. I know I laughed at this slide because here we are, it's been 100 degrees, 90 degrees, and I'm talking about winter coats, but I can't even think about a winter coat right now, but we are heading into that season. So I do want to talk about it. Winter coats can provide the harnesses from being buckled tightly or even being buckled at all, or make them very loose. So this is kind of an example of a test on a type of coat. So this child is in one type of coat that's really heavy. When they put it on, the harnesses were loose. That's the one on the bottom. When they put the car seat on, tighten what makes it look like the harnesses are tight, took it off and put the child in it, the harnesses were actually really loose. There was a lot of padding, a lot of pillowing with that that coat. In the top, this was a great coat because it didn't have a lot of padding. When she took it off and put the harnesses back on, they fit, the pinch test worked. She was able to get the retainer clip and everything right in the right position. So there are a few different things that you can do. We always, especially with the little babies, warming up, if possible, warming up the car before. You can use a blanket over the baby, but no heavy things. They're going to get hot in the car. With the older kids like this, if you find a coat that doesn't cause problems, sometimes if you're transporting kids and you don't really have a choice about their coat, unzipping it and leaving it half open at least won't make it as pillowy. Or, I mean, the best thing would be is if they can wear their coat to the car and then take their coat off in the car, and then just regular layers, and then buckle them in. There are obviously, we know that that's not always going to be able to happen, especially with people transporting kids for programs, that may not always be something that you're able to do. But if you can at least eliminate some of the padding and making sure that the harnesses will fit the child the way they're supposed to. Because again, as you saw, loose harnessing is one of the big mistakes that a lot of people make, and we want to make sure that the harnesses fit them so that they stay in the car seat. For babies, people love this particular setup. A lot of people get them in showers. It's called a bundle me. There's a few different types, and that's not allowed by car seat manufacturers. It's too thick. It makes the harnesses too loose. It's adding padding behind the child, which, as I said, car seat manufacturers don't like. Whatever if they made it, great with their car seat, but most of them, they're a different manufacturer that makes them. They don't want them added to their seat. What they will allow is a blanket over the baby. So this second picture is what they prefer. The car seat has all the padding that came with the car seat and just a blanket to keep them warm, but no extra added things, especially at this stage. Car seats often get recalled. And we want to make sure that people are aware of those recalls. So all car seats come with a postcard. A lot of people don't fill that postcard out. They think, I don't want to get more marketing. By law, they're not allowed to send marketing materials based on the information that people fill out on that postcard. It's solely to let you know if there is a recall on the car seat itself. So we want to make sure that people are registering. Some car seat manufacturers have an extended warranty for people who register their car seats within a certain amount of time. And they can also be done online. So safercar.gov/parents allows people to register their car seat online, and also has some recall lists available. If people don't register a car seat, and it's about 40% of people that do, then they're reliant on hearing it on the news, or happen to see a flyer at a Walmart or a Target or whatever. So it's really, unless they're registered, there's really no good way to let people know if their car seat's been recalled. when people come to see us, we always check to make sure that their car seat's not on the recall list. And we'll help them, if they are, we'll help them get it repaired, contacting the manufacturer. There is a few different places to find the car seat recalls. I think probably the easiest one is to go to recalls.gov. You go to motor vehicles and car seat manufacturers, and then you can type in the name of the car seat and the brand, and it'll come up with a list of the car seats that have been recalled. It's also where if somebody has a complaint that they filed, a families, you know, if you find like, hey, the strap doesn't work really well, they can type in a complaint. And if they get enough of those complaints, they'll investigate it. The information to know if you have a recall on your car seat is on a label on the car seat somewhere. A lot of times they're on the bottom. Some of them hide them a little bit more than others. Some of them are right on the side. But this is an example of a Kiko Key Fit, is a rear facing only seat, and it lists everything, the model name, date of manufacturer, and it actually also lists the expiration date on a car seat because car seats do expire. The rear facing only ones tend to expire about 6 to 7 years. Some of the all-in-ones, they'll expire after 10 years. There's no one set date. What they find is that, first of all, technology changes over years, so they don't want a car seat that they made back in 2000 to still be used because that technology is probably out to date. There's also the thought that car seats sit in hot cars in the summer, cold cars in the winter. You know, there's the apple juice, the snacks that, you know, after a certain amount of time, they guarantee that their car seats are going to work for 6 years for a rear facing only seat, as this example, or 10 years for an all-in-one car seat. And after that, they can't guarantee what's going to happen. So that's why car seats expire. If someone needs a car seat, I first will recommend them, they can contact their insurance agency. Most mass health carriers will provide some type of assistance. Sometimes it's a car seat that they just mail to their house, like Boston Health Net Plan does that. Sometimes it's a gift card. Most straight mass health does not provide a car seat. So if someone just has straight mass health for whatever reason, in general, they can't get a car seat that way. So there are other options for them. The Executive Office of Public Safety and Security has grant programs, and they just had the grant closed, so a lot of police, fire, EMS, and hospitals got car seat grants available, and they're listed on the mass.gov car seat website, the programs that are available. If anybody needs a car seat, there are also Buckle Up for Life programs, and a lot of programs around Massachusetts have car seats that are given. This is a national program that they give out a good number of car seats to programs. So for example, Northern Berkshire Ambulance Service got one of the Buckle Up for Life program grants and have a lot of car seats for that area, which is awesome. So if you go onto those websites and you can't find anybody that can provide a car seat, you can always contact me. I can see what I can find out, see if there's any resources that I can provide. Sometimes I've been able to actually, if we can't find a car seat any other way, sometimes I've been able to reach out to manufacturers to get a donation. There's always a resource. Sometimes it's a program in another part of the state, but they have extra car seats, and I can, you know, somehow get them to wherever they need to go. So definitely feel free to reach out to me if you're having trouble with that. There are a few other resources. We have state information cards that list the law and a few tips, and that is John Fabiano at the Office of Grants and Research, who I work with, and his phone number and email are listed. Again, the car seat inspection station or fitting station locator is at mass.gov/car seats. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, safercar.gov, also lists car seat programs where you can get your car seat checked in the state and all around the nation. Safe Kids Worldwide also lists those and has many, many videos, handouts that you can provide, and tips, checklists. safety facts, things like that is really good, or it's a really good website. The Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, some of the videos that I showed you were from there. They also have other videos available on rear facing, forward facing, and different types of resources. So that's all I have today. Here's again is my email and my voicemail line. Email is probably the best way to contact me. I don't have a phone number, I just have a voicemail line. So, but I do get them through the email also. So I will return a call also. But yeah, I'll take any questions if anybody has any. I'll stop sharing my screen. Well, I'll leave it up there for a few minutes, but I'll put my camera on. How about if I can figure out how to do that? Okay. Are there any questions in the chat? Should I take a look? Let's see. Is it somebody? Okay, let's see. I'll look at the chat. Is it also the case that the chest clip could cause injury if too low on the abdomen ever in an accident? I think it, as 18-month-old DCF kiddos has long legs and they hit the seat back when he is rear facing position. Is this a safety problem? He's definitely uncomfortable and fusses a lot. So I did cover that. Again, yeah, I see Kathy. If you have any questions, I mean, you know, again, it's the good, better, best. Like they certainly, however he can put his legs. I know it's an issue. 18-month-old, you know, he's beyond the minimum, but if you can keep him rear facing, that would be best. It's not a safety problem for his legs to hit the back. The presentation is being recorded and is available. Okay, that was answered. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? I will say that I mentioned in the beginning that we have a 3-day class for certification for car seat technicians, and it's open to anyone. Anyone can take it. We get people, you know, the majority are police, fire, EMS, and hospital employees, but we have had people from DCF. We've had people from Head Start. We have parents that just want to take the class and are helping people in the community. So if you are interested in that, the next one's in Medford at the end of August. We usually run them about once a month, every 6 weeks or so, all around the state. So definitely, if that's something you might be interested in, just let me know. Okay, car seats that are expired, what is the proper way to dispose of them? So the best way, I mean, ideally we would like to be able to recycle them, and there's so much mixed material in there that you can't. I would say if you can hold on to it and do the trade-in event at Target, because there are like those big companies that are recycling them. So there will be one in September, and there's usually one in April. And you just take it, they'll give you a coupon if you trade it in, if you want to get another car seat, or if you just want to drop it off, they'll take it. So that's probably the best way to dispose of them. If you need to throw it away, we definitely want to prevent people from picking them up, you know, wherever. So usually at an event, if we have a car seats that we need to dispose of, we'll cut the straps, get rid of all the hardware inside, and put it in a black trash bag to throw away. I have done some research on seeing if there's a way to recycle them any other way, and so far I haven't come up with any luck. But I am grateful that, you know, Target does it twice a year. Walmart did that once, and so occasionally I think more and more of those types of things will hopefully start happening, where they'll take in the car seats and recycle them. That's a great question. You're welcome. Anything else?
There's another question in the chat that says, should you use an expired car seat? Is it safe?
Oh, I missed that one. Thank you. So I would say no. The manufacturer doesn't want you to use them. If it's a choice between using an expired seat and no seat at all, we'd obviously rather have you use a car seat than no seat at all. But that would be like in an emergency. So if you have an expired seat, they're considering them not safe at that point. We go, it's because we have to follow what the car seat manufacturer says, what their recommendations are. It would be you would want to not use an expired seat. So if you have an expired seat, again, if you can, you just dispose of it, either cut the straps, put it in a black bag for disposal. If you can hold on to it for a while, again, the Target has their trade back program where they take expired car seats in September, and we'll give you a coupon for baby items. Doesn't have to be a car seat, just any baby items, but you can't use it like not everything in the store, but baby items. Then that's the best way to get rid of it. But if you just need to dispose of it, just make sure it's in a black trash bag. Don't I see, people leave baby items along the side of the road, and car seats sometimes are in there, and that's definitely not the way to move them on. People can use, share car seats, but if you don't know what happened to it, like with the history, if it's expired, if all the parts are there, then we definitely don't want to pick car seats, just use car seats that are kind of out there. And so we also don't want people to just pick them up. So that's the best way to get rid of them. Okay, can you share a link to the Target trade-in event in September? Yeah, so you know what? If you email me, usually they'll put the link when the next date is. They don't have, and usually we hear about it. I'll hear about it, like we're all kind of aware of it. So I'll hear about it at the beginning of September or the end of August, and then I can definitely share that link with you. You're welcome. Yes, I'll definitely email you. And we put it out on Facebook and share it, with our programs, because I think it's a great service, definitely. You're welcome. Anything else? Thank you. I know Alexandria is going to share links for the videos that I had in the presentation, so that you all have those.
Okay. Thank you everyone for all of your questions. That was fantastic. We're just going to quickly share some links and talk about our child passenger safety toolkit that was just published. If there are any other questions, please feel free to enter them in the chat. If not, you can email them to Mandy or myself and we'll be able to get back to you. So I'm going to quickly share the screen. Is everybody seeing that screen okay? All right. Okay, so recently, I think it was last week, we just published the Child Passenger Safety Toolkit, and this toolkit is intended to provide guidance to emergency service providers and personnel and others like caregivers, parents that want to transport their children safely. In it, you can find information on providing child passenger safety education to parents or caregivers that you work with. And that's from selecting a car seat at different stages of life, when to change a car seat, the expiration dates, a lot of the things Mandy had covered today. There's also some financial support and more in there. The data and background that's in this passenger toolkit includes information on child passenger safety, health inequities, some key roles and responsibilities for developing a program at your organization, and even implementing inspections and installation services. There's also a portion to help people who are running those in-person events for child passenger safety. It will provide reviewing of the key aspects related to preparation, delivery of the event, include some scheduling, supply tips that are needed, and promotion of the event. This link, which I will share in the chat, the toolkit, is only available in English, and we're hoping that the data and information in this product will be useful to you, to the work that you do with your families that you serve as well. And I'll just send that in the chat quickly. There we go. And then if you ever wanted to connect with DPH to learn more about the child passenger safety, you can contact either myself or Mandy, and we have some links posted on this screen right here. There will be an evaluation that will be sent into the link. We're always looking to improve our training, so please feel free to take that whenever you get the chance. It will be also sent to you in a follow-up email with the slides that Mandy conducted today. I just want to say thank you again for coming today, participating and listening to help learn more about child passenger safety and share this information with the families you serve. Our next training is September 7th. It is Infant Safe Sleep, and that link will also be in the chat. Thank you, Emily. If you have any questions, you want to learn more, connect offline, please feel free to email myself or Mandy. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you.
Thank you.